Thank you all for attending this. It seems now a weekly webinar. As you can guess, that things changing on a weekly basis. So I thought it would be time that we had another update. There were a few changes the end of last week and early this week, which I'm going to cover through the next webinar. So just a bit of housekeeping going forward. Please try and hold fire on your questions, because hopefully through the slides and the webinar I should be dealing with a lot of the queries that have come up. So yeah, please hold fire on those until we got to the end. I've got Paul online here who's sort of answering the questions as you input them, so by all means use the Q&A section, type your questions, and then he will answer them as we go along. And then towards the end, if I'll review them to make sure that we haven't missed any. So these are the 4 topics we're going to cover today: bounce back loan scheme that was announced on Monday, the self-employed scheme, the SEIS scheme, and the local authority grants. Sorry, I'm just seeing. Yes, by the way, it's all being recorded, and hopefully at the end of the day, early tomorrow, you will get an email showing all the recordings and all the attachments and feedback and everything else that you will need. So, self-employed income support scheme, the local authority grants and time to pay proposals. So, as you know, the bounce back loan scheme went live on Monday, and this is a support for small businesses to help with their immediate cash flow issues. Believe it or not, it was actually launched on Monday the 4th, and I have had a few clients who completed the online application, answered all the questions on Monday morning. Believe it or not, Tuesday afternoon they had their £50,000 in their bank accounts, which is unbelievable considering how fast, how quick that they announced the new bounce back loans. I think it was the week before. And obviously the government and the banks have been working very close together and learning from the mistakes with the C-bills, where it was taking so long for those loans to come through. And now these loans are coming through thick and fast. There's a list of those providers that have online applications with their online banking system. Now, you will notice that Metro Bank is missing. We are understanding that they seem to have an issue getting their online loan facility set up, and we've got quite a few clients actually who are banking with Metro and having issues with them. However, Lloyds Bank, I think, really went full steam ahead, and as I said, they're well and truly dealing with these. I know there were a few teething issues yesterday with Barclays Bank. People were getting error messages, and there was no error in the online form. Basically, I think the advice was to try again later on or the next day, and it seems to have sorted themselves out. And the same with NatWest. And there's a whole list of other banks there that have now come online. Again, you've got to go to your existing bank. Unfortunately, if your bank is Metro, you haven't really got much choice. However, HSBC have announced that they will be taking on new business, so it might be worth applying to maybe set an account up with them and seeing if you can get the bounce back loans with HSBC. So what we know so far, that you can borrow between £2,000 and £50,000 up to 25% of your business turnover. When you do complete the form, it does ask what your turnover is, and you apply the 25% figure to that. Then it does ask what your projected or your estimated future turnover will be. So some people, for example, got property developers who have obviously had not sold anything in the last year, no turnover, but predicted going forward £1 million, say, then they're obviously putting the £1 million in there to get to the loan. So it's up to you what figure you would put in there regarding your turnover. It's over a 6-year loan, 6-year period. 2.5% is now the interest rate that's been applied with no early penalty redemptions, which is really important, because I have had clients apply for the loan, get the loan, and then it's sitting there as a sort of a safety net if they ever need to use it going forward, knowing full well that they can repay early if they maybe use £10,000 of that to maybe pay the VAT or the taxes that have been deferred. and as we come out of lockdown, then they realise they don't need it, they can pay it back, no penalties, which is very encouraging. Again, personal guarantees not required, which is really, really advantageous for a lot of businesses. And as with the CBILS, it's interest free for the first 12 months and capital repayment free for the first 12 months as well. If you need more than £50,000, then you should consider applying for a CBILS loan instead. You cannot have both. So it's one or the other. You can't mix it. You can't have 20 on one and 70 on the other. It's one or the other. So just bear that in mind. Once you apply for the £50,000 loan, you get it, and then you realise, oh crikey, I need another £50,000 loan from somewhere. You're not going to get it anywhere else. So please make that decision wisely and work out what funding you need from your forecasting. If you do need way in excess of £50,000, then go through the CBILS loan application instead. Really important. Quite a few people have asked us about that, and it's very clear in the legislation what it's meant to be used for. Interestingly, Starling Bank have removed the 18-month minimum trading requirement, which is quite handy, and also the turnover is derived from the last calendar year rather than your accounts. No flexibility with the 6 years. If you want 2 years, 3 years, you can't. You're stuck with the 6 years. And as I said, there's no way of mixing the CBILS or the business builder, the bounce back loans. The CBILS, HSBC are looking and accepting applications if you can get through, which is very encouraging. Also, the stats there is unbelievable. The FT are reporting that more than 110,000 businesses applied on the first day, releasing a total of £3 billion of funding, whereas CBILS approved $4 billion in the first 5 weeks. So you might wonder why they did not do this in the first place. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure from organisations showing the obviously financial impact on businesses. So to be eligible for the loan, then you've got to be careful because it's purely a self-certified loan application. So you need to make sure that your business is in the UK and you've got to be established by the 1st of March 2020. Adversely impacted by the COVID-19, which most businesses have been, and you're obviously not using an existing government-backed loan scheme like the CBILS, and you're not in bankruptcy, liquidation, ongoing debt structuring. Really good summary there on one page how the BBL loan is working, and it's quite interesting that there shouldn't be any arrangement fees either. They have said that you should not be paying any arrangement fee to get these loans set up. It's just purely 2.5% flat interest rate per annum. And also the personal guarantees, which is really handy as well. So if you can't afford to repay the loan, then the government will come in and as the security for the loan. Obviously, you've got to be careful with the money that's in the company. It's obviously got to be used for company purposes. It can't be used for any personal, for your personal means. Obviously, if the company is short of cash, it's meant to be using for paying the wages, maybe the extra 20%, which is not covering the furlough, helping you get through, pay your rent and other things. And obviously, you should be making sure that your forecast going forward in a year's time, that you know exactly how much is being paid on a monthly basis in a year's time, and then you factor that in with your forecast. Really important. So what checks will you be subject to if you do apply online? Really, they're just doing a self-certify, self-declare, and that you're eligible for the scheme. You're going to be under, the bank will undertake anti-money laundering and know your client checks. That's all sort of part of the bank's requirements anyway. Just to confirm, the 2.5% per annum interest rate, and it's obviously there to help support all the businesses who are facing difficulty at the moment. Again, this is a whole thing about doing the CBILS and the bounce back loans at the same time. Obviously, it's not meant to be taking it in conjunction with any other loan. It's a business loan. You can't treat it as a personal loan. The money will go into your company bank account. If you do decide to take the money out for personal use, I don't know, to fund your wages or your dividends, then obviously you've got to make sure if it's a dividend that there's sufficient profits throughout the year to pay your dividend. And obviously this is a loan, so you've just got to be very careful you don't fall foul of any illegal dividend rules and things like that. If you do pay it to yourself and there's no profits there for a dividend, then obviously it should be paid to you as a salary, and obviously all the PAY and national insurance needs to be paid on that. So just be really careful what you do with the money. A lot of people are using it to pay obviously the VAT, PAY on an ongoing basis. I would advise businesses to maybe open a separate bank account, put that money in a separate bank account, a savings account, maybe an online bank account, and it's out of the way and it's gone, rather than in a year's time you start paying that loan back and you wonder where the hell that 50 grand went. It just got lost within the business and the cash flow. So just be careful if you are applying for those loans and how you're going to use it. So this is quite interesting. There are startup loans available as well as this bounce back loan. The startup loans are obviously out there to help any businesses that have been trading for less than 2 years. And the startup loans are more there as a guide, and they help you with business plans and other mentoring help as well. And that it's a bit like the old business links, where they will try and really help you establish your business. So you can apply for both of these loans. So it's a bit different with the CBILS loan, that the startup loan and the bounce back loan, you can use it in conjunction with each other. So it might be worth looking if you're a new business and have just started trading. So these are just a summary of where we are with some of the funding that people have been trying to get. Obviously the job retention scheme, people now are beginning to get their money through for last month, and obviously that's now been extended to the end of June, and there's obviously talk now that it will be sort of scaled down potentially, rather than paying 80% of the wages post June. They're going to be looking maybe at 60%, and maybe scale it right down to when businesses try to get back to some sort of normality. HMRC tax deferrals, which I'll talk about later, about penalties and deferring your tax. So then you've got to decide if the business needs £50,000 or more within the next 4 weeks to survive. If you need the 50 grand, less than 50 grand sort of next week to pay suppliers or to pay the rent or to keep surviving, then obviously the bounce back loan would be more preferable than obviously trying to apply for a CBILS loan, which seems to be taking a lot longer and obviously requires a lot more information. So this is just a little bit about the self-certification declarations, that some of the questions that it asks when you go through the form. These are the type of questions that it does ask you if you haven't already applied it. There is one, which is that one, the bottom left box. The question is really badly worded, but reading through the lines, and by default, where some applications have been denied, the right answer to that question is yes, that more than 50% of your revenue is derived from your main, from your business training and activity. So if you do get to that question and you don't understand it, then that's basically what it's asking, that you are trading more than 50% of revenue from your training activity. So they're the sort of questions that you need to answer when you go through the procedure. Doesn't take too long. Again, every bank is different, so every bank's questionnaire is different, and some are asking 4 or 5 questions and then they're emailing you later on with the full questionnaire. Some are doing the whole form online. So it just really depends on who you bank with. So that's to do with the bounce back loans. Now, the next grant help is for the self-employed. The Self-Employed Income Support Scheme, the SEISS, as it's shortened now. So this is to help those self-employed people, and this was announced right early on. They did say that at the end of June that people will start getting their money. Good news is that they're delivering this well ahead of the original timetable. So the actual service is going to go live from the 13th, which is early next week. So again, the claim process is going to be very simple. And again, if you're eligible for it, the money should be in your account by the 25th of May, or obviously 6 days, working days of completing the claim. We've actually started seeing clients getting sent letters from HMRC saying that they're most probably likely to be eligible for the scheme, and they are entitled to 80% of their average trading profits, up to a maximum of 7.5 grand, equivalent to 3 months profits, obviously, because it was from March, so it's April, May, June, so 3 months, April, May, June, paid in one single instalment. Again, there's a little bit there that there's an online facility for you to check whether you're eligible or not, by putting in your NI and your UTR reference number. So for more details, there's the link. If you just put in Google self-employed scheme, income support scheme, or SEIS, then you'll get put through to the right section of HMRC's website. So to enable you to make the claim, there's some information that you will need. You will need your self-assessment UTR number, the 10-digit UTR number, and you will also know your national insurance number. These two bits of information will be on your tax return or any correspondence that HMRC sends you. If you are clients of ours, then you should be able to obtain this from the online portal where we upload last year's tax returns for you. So everything should be in there. Now, the very, very important point about this is this government gateway user ID and password. Now, I don't think a lot of clients, especially self-employed, have bothered to register for the government gateway. Now, to enable you to submit the claim, you have to have the government gateway set up. So if you haven't already, please go and set this up with HMRC. Again, if you just Google search government gateway, and there's a link, I think, through the portal when you see if you're eligible for the claim. You'll obviously need your bank number and sort code that you obviously want the grant to be paid into, and you've obviously been affected by the coronavirus, which most people have. Again, we can check whether you're eligible for the claim, but unfortunately, a bit different to the furlough scheme, we are actually unable to make the claims on the client's behalf. Even if we're the authorised agent, HMRC have turned around and said that they will not accept it, and I don't think you're even able to submit the claim through our agent login. So you do need to do this yourself through the government gateway. We obviously are available to help complete the forms, or if you need profit figures. Again, we're really not sure how the system works because it's not gone live yet. We're not sure if HMRC will pre-populate the figures from the tax returns and you just need to go in and approve it, or you need to enter your own figures. We'll know a lot more next week. But the main point there is that you've got to do it yourself. We are unable to do this on your behalf. Again, some criteria which you must be aware of to see if you're eligible for the claim. Now, a couple of things highlighted there which are really important. You've got to be trading in the 1920 tax year. So you have to be trading throughout that year, and you have to be continued to trade as well. So if you've ceased trading, or you've stopped your self-employment, say the 18-19 tax year was your last year that you filed your tax return, submitted your self-employed accounts, you will not get the claim because you're not trading in the current 1920 or 1920 tax year that's just gone. So you've got to be trading in that year, and you have to be continued to trade. So that's really, really important. The next criteria is that you have to have at least half of your income through self-employment. So again, you've got to look to see if you've got other rental income. You might have a part-time job. You might have pension income. So quite a lot of people continue to work as a sole trader, self-employed, and they're getting maybe their state pension or their private pension. So if you might also have a bit of self-employed income, as well as maybe getting dividends from somewhere, investment income, interest income. So you've got to look at your whole taxable income, and if at least half of that has to come from self-employment. If it doesn't, you will not get the claim. So we've been looking at some clients where their pension income matches their self-employed income, and they won't get the claim. So you just have to watch that. The next criteria is that your average trading profits for the last 3 years has to be no more than £50,000 per year. Again, very important that, and it is, if you're £50,000, £50,001, you will not get the rebate. So again, look at your taxable figures, see if you're you hit that criteria. And obviously, because it's averaged, if you've had a really poor year 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you had a better year, it's obviously the average. And obviously, you've got to be trading in the tax year 18-19 and submitted your tax return or before the 23rd of April 2020 for that year. If you've missed that deadline, the 23rd of April, or you've submitted your tax return late for any reason, then again, you're not going to get the rebate. So obviously, HMRC are writing to and contacting a lot of client taxpayers because they have all this data on their system. So watch out for any letters or information to do with that. So for Raffingers clients, as we're able to check whether you're eligible or not, we're doing this as we speak. And as you can imagine, there's quite a few clients that we need to check. And we're going to be emailing early next week to those that, well, to all the self-employed, telling them whether they can or can't claim the rebate. So rather than contacting us, please wait for that email from us letting you know. But one way or the other, if you think you're eligible or not, then there's no harm now of registering with HMRC and getting a gateway login and password. So from after this webinar, you are self-employed and you haven't got your gateway and login number and password, please do that straight away. I can't stress that enough. What you don't want to do is then panic when you're trying to do the submissions, and again, there's going to be a huge amount of people trying to get online, and I think HMRC are actually struggling the periods that people can submit. So we've done some checks, and some people can start applying from the 14th and some from the 16th. So I think they're spreading it out. But please get your gateway login sorted well before next week. So this is something that I spotted, and I think it hasn't been well publicised, but the local authority have been told by the government to start helping some of those smaller businesses that seem to have fallen through the net. So there are quite a few people who can't get the small business grant or cannot get the retail, hospitality and leisure grants. So these were massive. These were sort of £10,000 grants and £25,000 grants that businesses were getting from the local authority if they were paying rates or they were within a certain band. But what we were finding is that a lot of people, where they were using shared workspaces, B&Bs, maybe market traders, small charity properties and so forth, were not getting any help whatsoever. So the local authorities are being told that they've got some funds now that they can actually now help those businesses. However, I did have a quick look at a couple of councils, Redbridge Council and Basildon Council, on their websites, just to see if there's anything on there, but actually there's nothing there at the moment. But they did say that it will be this week, early next week, that there will be something online for people to be able to then apply. It might be that it might be worth phoning the council or sending them an email just to see if they've got anything out there that they can help you with. But the idea is to help those smaller businesses with ongoing fixed property related costs, and especially where the landlords aren't really playing ball and helping those smaller businesses. So just keep an eye on that. I think that's quite important, and I think if people are aware of it and they apply to the councils and explain why they need the funds, I think then it could be another way of getting some money to support your business. So some of the other authorities around the country are helping their businesses, and as you can see, nothing there for London, which is no surprise. As you can tell, a lot of these are all sort of up north and around the country, so be interesting to see if London does come on board with the local authorities. And the last topic is time to pay proposals. Again, this is very important because what we're finding is that there's a mixture of what is an automatic deferral, and there's a mixture of those taxes that you've got to apply to HMRC and tell them that you're deferring it. And obviously it'd be good to know if there's penalties or interest applicable to those deferments, and I think it'd be nice just to explain how that works. So we're telling people to contact HMRC by phone. I think that's going to be the best way, because they can make a note of your phone message, the phone call on their system. Sending letters and putting it in writing could take weeks and weeks to hit the right person. What you might want to do is make the initial phone call and then maybe follow it up with an email or a letter, just to sort of belt and braces operation, because you don't want to find you're disputing a penalty or an interest charge where you've maybe got a time to pay arrangement in place. So when you are calling them or putting it in writing, this is obviously some of the information that you will need. You'll need to know your annual tax, your total liability to tax, whether it's PAYE or corporation tax. Obviously explain to them what the short-term forecast is likely to be, and if you've had any other grants to help you get through the difficult period. They're obviously trying to make sure that the first port of call is not to ask for a time to pay arrangement. They want to make sure that you've got you've tried other means to support the business. And importantly, regards to penalties and interest, none will be charged on the following deferred payments. So as you know, the second payments on account, which are due 31st of July 2020, have been automatically deferred. So there's no penalties and interest on there. But obviously, it's a deferment that needs to be paid by the 31st of January 2021. So if you've got your payment on account to pay 2021, and also you've got your balancing payment to pay and your payment on account for the following tax year, you're virtually paying sort of 3 lots of taxes January 21. So just be aware and work out your finances accordingly. Some people are actually paying the second payment on account if they've got the funds, just so that they don't cause themselves a cash flow problem come later in the year. And obviously, as we know, VAT payments that are due in the period to the end of June, again, no penalties or interest as long as they're paid by 31st of March 21. So obviously, a lot of March quarter VAT returns are due tomorrow to be paid. Obviously, you need to still file the return, but obviously the payment does not need to be made. You don't need to contact them. It just gets automatically deferred. And as long as you pay it by March 21, there's no penalties, interest. PAYE and corporation tax, interest will be payable on deferred payments, but there'll be no penalties if you have arranged the time to pay TTP arrangement with HMRC. So please be aware of that. People, I think, are going to get caught out with this, where they think all taxes have been deferred, but it isn't. It's only the second payment, and the VAT has automatically been deferred. So please be aware of that. So just to recap how we can help right now. So I've covered this before on previous webinars. Obviously, we can help with forecasts, especially with the CBILS applications for where the banks are asking for forecasts. Obviously, with the bounce back loans, don't need to do any of this. So that's why a lot of people are now applying it direct and going for the lower amount of £50,000, because it is quick and easy to get it. Submitting claims on behalf of your business through the NEIB. So the job retention scheme, we can obviously help you with that. Cash flow improvement coaching powered by Profit First. So we've got some tools and systems in place to help you with your cash flow going forward. And we use the system devised by Profit First to help you with your cash flow. And obviously we've had R&D tax credits, really some great success with this over the last few weeks. HMRC are paying the R&D tax credits really quickly at the moment as well, not asking too many questions. I think Neil did a webinar last week on R&D. Any questions on R&D, whether that's you think it's applicable, then please let me know. But that's another real nice way of getting some cash into the business. Again, as we come out of this, we'll help you with any sort of organisation reviews, especially you're putting together accountability charts for your business. A lot of people have found that there's a whole new way of working. They've actually realised that they can survive and work without the team that they had before, or use them in a different way. So a lot of people were reviewing that, which is quite interesting. Systems and process reviews at the same time, using online cloud systems, Zoom, Teams for meetings online, looking at ways to digitalize all their processes has been really powerful, and a lot of people have found huge efficiencies whilst they've been working remotely. Cloud bookkeeping goes without saying. Thankfully, most of our clients, a huge majority of our clients, are now on cloud using Xero. So we haven't had this huge panic of going to the office to retrieve sort of brown paper bags and shopping bags full of receipts and invoices. Using Xero Receipt Bank or HubDoc to sort of digitalize all your invoicing has been a lifesaver for ourselves and a lot of clients. The important thing is that you get real-time financial information as well, so you're bang up to date with how your business is performing, what the profit's looking like, what the cash flow looks like, and you can then predict using the systems and the information within the bookkeeping system. If you haven't got the information, you are really going to struggle to know how the business is operating. And we can help with the marketing strategy and support. That's again is amazing how we've seen people evolve and grow and change their strategy really quickly. Impressed how some of the restaurants are doing deliveries, or they've just changed the direction that their companies are going really quickly. And people have now got a bit of time to look at their marketing strategy and support, put together their one-page plans, put together some key performance indicators, and really sort of go for it from a strategic point of view. And we can help you with that if need be going forward. So that's really where we are. And I think hopefully I've covered quite a few of the questions that were asked. There was one, I think the client asked me, let me get my emails up on my phone. The client emailed me earlier and I did say I would cover it. It was Linda Thompson, I think you might have asked this, but Linda said she gave me 3 questions. And the individual needs to submit the claim, not the agent. So the taxpayer will need to apply for his own government gateway user and ID and password. Correct. As I said, we can't do this for you. You guys have to do it. And also, if you're in a partnership and there's 3 or 4 of you in the partnership, each of you has to then obviously apply for your gateway login and apply for your the rebate. So again, the money, I think I'd imagine there will be a choice of whether you want the money to go into the personal bank account or the partnership bank account if you have a partnership. I don't think that HMRC are that bothered where that money goes, as long as it's a bank account that can accept online payments. And is it okay to claim those self-employed grants when also furloughed? Yeah, so it's very clear that these grants for self-employed people are applicable even if they have got a second job or working elsewhere. So this is completely separate to the furlough claims. So you can claim for both if you've been furloughed and also you're self-employed. Hopefully that's answered the questions there. There's a few in the chat. If I just pull them off, I think Paul's answering a few of them. Let me just see if there's any on the chat. As a cab driver, could I apply for the bounce back loan to pay a chunk off my cab as a lower interest rate? I thought the bounce back loan, Paul might be able to help me. I thought the bounce back loans were only for trading companies, limited companies. It's a great question. I will come back to you on that regarding cab drivers as well. Let me just make a note of that. that's a good point. But all I can imagine, all I would say is go to your bank online and try and do the application, to be honest, and see what happens. It'll be very interesting to see if you get through sort of the first stage and to be able to do that. Any feedback from HSBC? All I've been told is that HSBC should be up and running, and I've had clients applying through HSBC, but they're existing HSBC customers, not brand new customers. And I've had people trying to open new accounts with HSBC to get the bounce back loans, but I think that process is going to take longer than obviously if you're an existing customer. So a question here: I rang HMRC to defer PAY payment, was agreed on the phone, but wasn't given any information when to start paying again and how to make up for the missed payments. How will I know? So that's quite surprising, really. I would have thought they would have asked, when do you want to defer it to? Is it 2 or 3 months? And they would have put a note on your file. So if they haven't asked, then obviously try and pay it as soon as you can. Might be worth giving them a call, because obviously you've got next month's PAY coming up as well. So you might want to call them again for next month's PAY if you can't pay it. And then explain to them that you want to try and pay it off in 3-4 months' time when you get some funds. I'm surprised they didn't ask when that actually needs to be paid. So I think that's covered. Yeah, so that's covered everything on the chat. I think Paul's still working through the Q&A. Let me just see if there's any questions. I've made a bounce back loan, it's arrived, however, I've realised I should have paid for more. Is this allowed? I should have requested more. Is this possible to add to an original loan? No, I think no. Once you've got, unfortunately, once you've got your first bounce back loan, you cannot apply for a second bounce back loan. It's all or nothing, and you need to really make that judgment call when you apply for it. I don't think the system will allow you to top up or get a second business builder loan. It's just not going to happen. I think we're done. So can't see any. Well done, Paul. Answered 27 questions. Super speedy on the old computer. That's the end of the presentation. Hopefully, based on if there's anything announced, I know there's a huge announcement on Sunday about returning back to work, so we might cover something like that in next week's webinar. Again, it'd be interesting to see any sort of feedback from the business bounce back loans again. So if there's anything major changes, then we'll run another webinar. And also next week, I think people are going to start applying for the self-employed rebate. So keep safe. If you need any help, you know where we are. Just email us or give us a buzz. Hopefully speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.